I mean, I don't think it's necessary. I mean, it's all about how you want to define it. And I think it's fine to define it that way. But I feel like when I think about it, I don't think about it as like we're somehow in this new age. It's similar to like when we had the printing press, we only read books. But now, obviously, we watch TV. It's not oh, the printing press was wrong and that was a bad thing and we didn't know about it and all this stuff. It was just like the newest form and most modern type that was the best. Like clearly, obviously the best. So they're just going to make another one that's the best. Because
That's all.
obviously, if you're trying to market or do something, you wouldn't use a printing press. Like, that would be stupid.
Yeah. I mean, no,
That's kind of how I see
saying.
it.
I see what you're saying, but what I'm saying and what I'm getting from this book is he's saying that more and more people, because he's saying Silicon Valley, the SEALs, all these successful peoples are using this flow, which means they understand how the internal human system works. They understand that people are driven by dopamine and by pleasure. And when we do go to this dopamine and pleasure, and there's that kind of sense of selflessness and your impulse control is turned off, people are more willing to buy stuff. People are more impulsive because the control's off. So he's saying, I mean, have you seen that movie? What's the one on Netflix about social media? Social Dilemma. Have you seen that movie?
I haven't watched it. I mean, I've watched part of it. I haven't finished it.
So I mean, first of all, anyone watching, if anyone's watching this, please watch that movie, because the social dilemma is pretty much saying that Facebook, Instagram, I think Reddit was on there. I don't know all the other ones. Gmail's not addictive to me. I don't know what they're talking about. But I mean, they're saying that it's got all these little notifications and all these little tricks, these little precognitive tricks that nudge you. It's psychologically to get someone to do something that you want them to do without them knowing. It's called nudging them. And what all these companies do is they nudge you to stay engaged with their service, with their social media, so that they can take in your data and sell them to advertisers. And that is the strongest marketing method that has ever existed in humankind. And that is why these tech companies are the most, they have the most capital ever. They have the most money ever out of any other company ever. I mean, Apple's what, like 1.33 something trillion dollars. So that's why, because they understand that people are, falling for the dopamine, because we all want pleasure. And that's the thing too, for all these people who are still using social media and all that stuff. I mean, you got to market yourself. You want to start a business, that's understandable. But you got to also understand that while you're doing that, you're putting yourself victim to these tricks where that's why people, you're, oh, I'm only going to spend 5 minutes on Instagram. And then 30 minutes later, oh, shit, I better get back to work. I mean, it's not your fault. It's not these people's fault, man. That's just how people are. We want pleasure, and it's an immediate pleasure. Immediate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with you. The thing that at least on the negative social media aspect of what you're saying, that always got me outside of just like, the time suck, was just the negative feelings. Like, you just start comparing yourself to people and feeling like you're not doing as much cool stuff as you could and all this stuff. And it's like, you literally pool 1,000 people. You take 1,000 people and have them post the coolest stuff they've ever done. That's all you're doing. And then you're only looking at that. And then you're like, wow, I'm not doing this. And it's like, what are you talking about? They only did one thing out of the 365 days. And all those people only did one thing. And it's and now you think that you have a sucky life because of it. Yeah. And that's what I didn't like.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. They were talking in that movie, The Social Dilemma. They said like suicide rates in 15-year-old girls and younger, probably in boys too. I think they only specifically talked about girls though, has risen like dramatically since Instagram and all that stuff came out. And they're saying it's because they think that, because people only post pictures of themselves in the perfect poses, looking perfect, having the most fun on the beach. But if you've ever been with a girl and you've ever seen her phone, they have like 1 million photos. So clearly it was 1 out of 1 million which is not a high percentage for a perfect live
Yeah.
feed. So, but that's the thing, right? And
then they also like edit it too and try to get all these angles and it's just like, why are you trying to lie to people? Like, why do you even want them to know? First thing, if I want someone to think I am something, I want them to think I'm broke. Because you know what that means? They might give me money. All right? If people think I got money, you know what they're going to do? Try to take my money. It's like, no, I don't run charities. I am a charity. Give me money.
I don't know if people are going to go out of their way to give you money. Maybe, I don't know. You might be more.
I think if you, I do believe though, if you truly told enough people that you are a charity and that you were taking money, if you just told enough people, you could probably have enough people support you. Like you could just find enough old ladies that would give you $10 a month.
Oh, shit.
Found like 1,000 of them. Like found 1,000 people to give you $10.
Dude, no, you're right. Look at all these GoFundmes. Look at all these GoFundmes. Oh, yeah. Someone dies, which is unfortunate. Okay, let's preface. But they get like millions of dollars in some cases. I'm not going to illicitly say something, a specific example I'm thinking of because it's very controversial, but millions of dollars or thousands of dollars or just much more money than you get. And it's just like, have you ever seen the South Park episode where Cartman and all the guys, they create their own website, their own GoFundMe. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've not seen that episode.
Okay, so it's great. It's great, right? So what happens is Cartman finds out that the Washington Redskins, their logo, they lost like, what's it called? Their rights over the logo. The football team lost their rights. So Cartman gets the logo and he's like, hey, we got to call our company the Washington Redskins. And then they cause a little divide and all. But what happens is because they're called the Washington Redskins, everyone knows them, and they're like, just give us money for doing nothing. And they start interviewing all these people because they're getting money like crazy. And they're like, well, they're interviewing someone. Like, oh, well, I gave them money because they're kind of doing nothing. I thought that's pretty sick, I want to give them money for doing nothing. And so they changed their name. They eventually had to change the name because the coach was getting on them, saying that they were taking advantage of them. And so they're like, okay, we'll change it. And they changed it to Washington Redskins, go fuck yourself. They're like, look, our goal at Washington Redskins, go fuck yourself, is to do absolutely nothing and to tell you to go fuck yourself while you give us all this money. That's what we're going to do. And they made like millions of dollars, right? So, I mean, that's I think South Park writers are genius, man. I mean, they are genius. That's why I love that show. But, I mean, that's pretty much it, man. That's exactly. So maybe you got a point. If you act rich, no one's going to give you any money. But if you act poor, I don't know.
Why do rich people always act like they don't have any money? They're always like negotiating, trying to pay nothing for something. It's because they can't be messing around. That's another thing I never really thought about until I started running numbers on houses all the time. I never thought 10 grand here, 5 grand here on an entire house purchase made that much of a difference. But then now I look at it, that makes a whole world of difference. Whether it makes sense or doesn't. Not only be like, I mean, obviously it depends on your timeline and plenty of other things, but certain metrics, it makes a world of difference. So it's like, you always got to be cheap. You can't be messing around spending money. Something that I heard someone say that was a really good idea. He was like, what rich people do is they make everything a business. They learn how to ride a bike. They now have a biking business where they somehow do something involved riding bikes because it's somehow business. They like get into makeup. Now they have a makeup business.
Like, well, ultimately that's, in a way, that's kind of what they were talking about in this chapter too, because they're saying you learn to do one thing and you're like, oh, I can capitalize on it. And you capitalize on it. But in order to stay the alpha, which in this case is the company that stays afloat in business, you need to control as much as possible. You can't have competitors taking away your money because you want the money, because if they take away your money, you could go out of business. So it's like a dog-eat-dog world. But again, it's the access versus control, because too much of it turns into too much control. There's too much control. you're screwed. So that's a corporations. Let's talk about the military. Do you remember what they were talking about in terms of the military and in the government?
They were talking about